The COYGIG Pod on OTB Sports in association with Cadbury. A player and a half deserves a glass and a half of support.
Everyone ran their socks off tonight and they left everything out there. They're very proud of the team's performance.
Let the shackles off Katie a bit so that she can go and play her game.
We're going to go out there to beat them. We're going to try and beat them.
Hello there, I'm Kathleen McNamee and this is the COYGIG Pod on OTB Sports. Back with me again is Karen Duggan after a nice little mid-tournament break, Karen.
Yeah, just everyone needs a break every so often, a little injury break. But yeah, I went to Barcelona at the weekend. To be fair, it was fab. Back to a nice, dull Ireland morning here now.
I am very jealous. Barcelona sounds very nice. Although it did give me a great opportunity to just bring another Sligo person on the podcast. So,
Sure.
I am not
every opportunity you can get.
Quite literally any opportunity. Well, you were away, but I hope that means that you didn't miss all the fun that happened over the semi-finals, because they were two very fun finals for two completely different reasons. So we'll start with the first one, England versus Spain, 4-0 or versus Sweden, 4-0 to Sweden. Or to, what am I saying? 4-0 to
It's
England.
been a long tournament.
It's been a really long tournament. You can tell Kathy just got back from Milton Keynes at like 2 o'clock in the morning. England versus Sweden, 4-0 England. Absolutely dominated the whole thing. I was so impressed with them. I didn't think that Sweden were necessarily going to win this match, but I also didn't think England were going to put 4 past them.
I did, just having watched Sweden so closely in recent times. For me, they were the most underwhelming of the top teams in the tournament. I felt like they had nothing kind of in attack, so there was nothing to get excited about. And then we did see some frailties. We saw the likes of Portugal really causing them a lot of issues, and the gulf between, say, the likes of England and Portugal is massive. And to be fair to England, they've come into this tournament and they've kind of just set it alight. It's obviously Spain got close to them and they were missing that cutting edge, but that was the only challenge they've really faced, and they stood up to it really well. So there was no doubt in my mind that England would win, but 4-0 in a semi-final is an absolute drubbing, and Sweden have a lot to look at themselves, but that's not taken away from England, who from the first game we kind of were like, yeah, they're on track for the final, and it has come to fruition. I was going to say unfortunately, but it's probably really good for the tournament that they are there, and it just shows the development of the WSL, and all the money that they've put in is really, really worth it.
I know, I was thinking about like the first episode we did for the tournament and the reluctance of the two of us to say that England were going to be in the final, but I think the two of us did know it was going to happen one way or another. Again, and also it was kind of nice to see the scope of people who scored in this match as well. You obviously had Mead, Bronze, Russo, and Fran Kirby. Fran Kirby's in particular I enjoyed. I just think after everything she's been through, to get that goal, to have that moment, and you can see how delighted everyone around her was as well, which was really nice. Yeah,
it was a lovely moment. Absolute howler by the keeper, but it was a lovely moment. Lindell won't want to see that one again, but no. Again,
there'll be a few she won't want to see again after that one. I mean, Russo's goal.
Okay, let's get to the Russo goal straight away. Like a back heel nutmeg. Like it was for me, it was one of the moments of the tournament as well. Like you couldn't, to have the balls to even attempt that in a European semi-final. I think she's one who's gonna garner a lot of attention for her performances off the bench. It's mad to think that she's coming off the bench and she's like scoring in every game.
I know. Well, because that is the argument, isn't it? And I saw Tim Stillman, who does a lot of work with Arseblog and like the Arsenal fan site, saying it's funny now seeing another side of his Twitter line give off about the fact that Serena Wiegman never changes her starting 11, because it's basically the same thing she did in the Netherlands. It's just the way she operates. She doesn't like change. Do you think that like that's sort of a tournament thing, and then maybe looking ahead to the World Cup, players like Russo and Toon are more likely to get that starting? Yeah,
I think so. I think that she had made her decision. It was set in stone. There'll be a bit of scope for change after this. You'd imagine like Ellen White, as fit as she is and as much as she gives, like again, she'll be another year older, and Russo will be another year older in the right direction. She'll have gained this tournament experience, and she perhaps would have there's no pressure on her really. She's coming off the bench, so it gives her more time to kind of grow into that role as well. So it's working. They can give out all they want, but European final and our favourites, I would say, going into that European final.
Yeah, I think so. Although it's interesting because I do think as well they're obviously going to face Germany, and we'll talk a bit more about their game against France. But Germany probably have all the elements that other teams that England have faced. Like say Spain, like they were so possession based, they were so like they pressed really hard. Sweden in that starting like first 20 minutes or so were quite frantic, and they really were like just trying to disorganize England completely. And I think Germany is probably a good combination of all those individual elements. So I wonder, will they have enough in that just to maybe slide one or two past them? I don't know. I think I hope it's going to be tight, because I would just love to see Beth Mead and Alex Popp just like switching goals consistently for 90 minutes, and we just come with like a 4-3 thriller or something.
Yeah, I don't see Alex Popp not scoring, and probably equally Beth Mead. So it'd be a good face off between them. But oh my God, like just the sheer power and will of Alex Popp to get those 2 goals that she did in the Germany semi-final. I mean, she's an animal. She's a different beast. She's something that England haven't come up against in that regard. Like, she will put those centre backs under pressure. She's everywhere on the pitch, and you can kind of just feel it from them that they want it so much. Just the way they talk after the game about people not giving them a chance to get this far and stuff like that. That's it's obviously played on their mind, and they've used it as motivation. And the thing that's really standing out to me about Germany is how much of a team they are. They always talk about the 1 to 23. And as much as the subs have been important for England, it's not really the main topic of conversation. Whereas in Germany, it seems to be just about the team, even though Pop is obviously standout and she's a star, but just the way they speak, it's really nice.
Yeah, well, just for like, if anyone is listening and doesn't know all that much about Alex Popp's career, she's missed the last 2 European Championships with serious injuries. She nearly missed, if this had gone ahead last summer like it was supposed to, she also would have missed that, because she was out for 11 months with another serious injury. She only came back in March of this year, I think, then caught COVID a couple of weeks out for the tournament, is now tied with Beth Mead for the Golden Boot, has scored in every match so far, first player ever to score in 5 consecutive Euros games, and she also got her extra one last night. And just even generally her career before this is insane. I mean, it's like 119 Germany caps, 59 goals. She's won like 3 Bundesliga titles, 2 Champions Leagues, like 8 German cups. She's just like
I couldn't believe her age, because I feel like she's been around forever. But she's just been amazing forever. She's still in her 20s. I was like, what do you mean? She's not. Like, she's she's at 45, but she's incredible.
She is next level. And I loved even the evolution of her from like when she scored in that first match against Denmark. She came on like 61st minute, I think, or something, as a substitute for Leah Schiller, and got her goal. And you could just see the emotion. Like she was almost in tears after scoring, because obviously it meant so much to her. And then by the time you fast forward to yesterday, and she's wheeling away after she scored her goals, and she's enjoying it, and she's just, you know, properly having that moment to herself. And I just imagine it's so nice. And even like at the end of the game, the fact that the whole team, she kind of just collapsed on the ground, I think, taking it all in, and the whole team just raced and jumped on top of her. So it's a bit like someone like Fran Kirby. It's obvious that the whole team has got behind her and got behind her having that moment, which I think is really nice. Yeah,
and also pure relief in that game. I mean, France did everything but throw the kitchen sink at Germany, and Germany stood up to it. It was like they spoke about how tiring a game it was, and you could really tell how much they wanted. Like, Pop was even back putting in blocks and bodies on the line sort of stuff. Because to be fair to France, they've had a really good tournament as well. But Germany, I'm glad Germany have gone all the way, because for me, along with England and Spain, they've been the best to watch.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about last night is that France were doing a lot, but there was still that certain calmness about Germany that I just felt I felt quite comfortable that even when it went to 1-1, you felt like they had another goal in them, and like the goal that France got was quite unfortunate in the way that it did like bounce off France into the goal. But even when they were taking shots and stuff, you just felt like it was one of those nights where none of them were going quite right. Like some of them, I think it was Baka nearly had an absolute stunning strike in the second half, but it just went wide, and it was like that was their story of their night. Everything went just wide.
Yeah, but they're just so comfortable in how they play. There's such a conviction to everything they do. And again, you're not really talking about individuals. Maybe Pop's finishing is amazing, but the way they work together as a team is so enjoyable. And I think tactically, I think the final will be really interesting, because I think England have probably more flair, but also more vulnerabilities. So it'll just be really interesting to see how it goes. One team could hammer the other team, or it could be 0-0. Like, it's so hard to call.
And what do you think will be the areas that England are most concerned about? Like, are you looking at the kind of Rachel Daly position?
Yeah, just because all we can go off is kind of the vulnerability they had against Spain, and it was kind of down that right hand side, and probably also I think both fullback areas, because they both are wanting to bomb on so much. Like, there's going to be no containing Lucy Bronze in the European Cup final. Like, she's going to want to probably get herself on the score sheet, or at least on the assist.
Especially after getting a goal and an assist in the semi-final.
So I think that if Germany are clever, they can Germany have the ability to soak up a lot of pressure and kind of entice England forward, and then that might leave gaps in behind for them to work their way up the pitch. So I think the fact that Germany can soak up that pressure, and we saw them stand up to it against France, it could just open England up a bit.
And do you see any frailties in this German side? Like, what would be the area that you think England will target?
I mean, England's pace is kind of frightening sometimes, the way that they can move the ball. They've got so much success from crossing, and they've got like such dangerous delivery, and they're so willing to get on the end of those crosses. So I think that the wings on both, because they're so good at them, they're both their strength and their weakness, because it could leave them open. But again, it'd be so hard to contain them. And the fact that kind of Hemp can move wings, I think England are very dynamic, and Germany are going to have to be very, very organised to kind of just manage that, because England will have so many players forward, and they are so willing to kind of break lines and play in different ways.
Well, asking a Germany team to be organised doesn't always.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Like, to be fair.
Yeah, no, because I was thinking that even watching the France game, like you say about England having so much success from crosses, like Germany have been very similar in that. I mean, both Pop's goals last night came from cross. One was a volley and the other was a header, both from Huth. So that'll probably be someone that England will look to target to make sure.
No, but I mean, Millie Bright is phenomenal in the air as well. So that's a battle I'm looking forward to too, because Pop is one of the best headers in the world, and Millie Bright defensively probably is too.
Massively disappointed that we went the entire tournament without a Wendy Renard header goal. I feel like it's the classic, like Millie Bright gets a goal, Louise Quinn gets a goal, their head is just it doesn't feel like a proper tournament unless you have one.
Oh, it's really been one for the strikers, to be fair. You'd have to say that the strikers are grabbing all the headlines.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of, that does mean we do have the Beth Mead, Alex Popp Golden Boot race. Who do you think is going to come out on top? Which is probably also a question as to who do you think is going to win it. I kind of feel like
I'm willing it to be Pop. Yeah, because I just think I'd love her to get the record of scoring in every single game the whole way up. Mead will probably get a hat-trick now after me saying that, but
Beth does all of a Wembley hat-trick, so
yeah. I kind of am thinking that 2-1 Germany.
Okay.
Praying for the 2-1 Germany. I don't even know if I fully believe myself, to be honest.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing, because I think that I'm leaning towards Germany, but I feel like that's probably my heart wanting it more than my actual.
Oh, absolutely. If I just put my football analyst hat on, England are the favourites for a reason.
Yeah. But I do think Germany can stick it to them in a way that other teams probably haven't before, or at least frustrate them a little bit and maybe take them to that 60th minute without a goal. And then of course Russo's going to come on and do something absolutely
bicycle from the halfway line or something like that.
Yeah. I'm gonna say 3-2 Germany, because I just want, and that's just me willing there to be lots of goals. A bit like you said before, it could easily end up being 0-0 and we'll end up in like penalties and it'll be another England heartbreak.
I wouldn't mind Germany winning on penalties either. just for tradition, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna be hearing so much about that over the next few days. But yeah,
I'm looking forward to the hype though around England being in the final. I mean, it is great, and the media coverage will be huge, and the attendance will be huge. Like the amount of people from Ireland who I know who are going over, even with or without tickets, it just shows what a huge event it's going to be.
Yeah, and it makes me kind of, for the last game for the England semi-final, I went over to the fan zone in Trafalgar Square just to kind of like soak up some of the atmosphere, and I was like, oh, this will be kind of cool to go to. And it was such a bizarre setup. Like they had the two big screens, but they were in front of both the fountains in Trafalgar Square, and then they had like a mini AstroTurf set up, and that was also in front of the screen. So like it felt like it was almost set up to, like everything around it was set up to entertain kids or something, rather than actually just watch the match.
Fans,
and I was like, set up two big screens, you probably didn't need all that much more. And it was just like, I know the atmosphere did improve a bit, like I was there quite early on in the evening, and I know it did improve after that, but like it was just really weird. And I think that's something that people have said throughout the tournament, that a lot of those fan zones or a lot of stuff created for around the tournament, it's like really geared towards a younger audience.
I think they kind of have maybe underestimated the type of fan that was going to come to this game, because we do know when we go to the Ireland games it is predominantly kids and stuff like that, and women, but this is a European final and it's the biggest one that there's been. So I do think they underestimated.
And I was talking to a couple of people, like say around my own age, like mid-20s, and they're like, you just want to have a few pints before the match. Like there wouldn't be anywhere to get a pint or whatever.
Yeah, it is strange.
Yeah, it's just unusual. Like the marketing of it, I think could have been a bit better to kind of say to people, because I know I've had friends who had never watched women's football, but were just in the pub and the match happened to be on. And they were like, oh, it was actually like really good atmosphere. Like England, they're all English people. They're like, England were playing. Everyone was like singing Sweet Caroline, it's coming home. Like, and they really got invested in that side of it. And I just wish there had been a bit more focus on that, I suppose, throughout the tournament to kind of bring more people into it, or
bring the new audience in and retain the new audience. And
because I mean, some of the football we've seen has been absolutely incredible. And again, say people who don't watch women's football all the time will send me like one of Russo's goals and be like, what on earth is this, you know? And I just feel like there was so much opportunity there that they maybe left behind a little bit. Doesn't also help that they had train strikes and English transport in general was quite rubbish.
The heat wave and all the rest of it. Go crack. But I'd say is
Australia next summer, Karen. Absolutely 50-degree heat, loving life. I suppose it'll be winter there then, so
I wouldn't mind doing a few early morning podcasts from Australia now next year. That'd be a bit of a different story to doing it here.
Yeah, definitely. No, but I know a lot of people coming over as well, but I just suppose I wish they had put more of a big tournament feel into the whole thing. Just some places were really good, and also depended on what fans you had. I mean, Netherlands always brought a party, was always good crack. Generally good atmosphere around the England games because they were home team. But say even like some of the Germany games I went to were quite flat. Like it just felt like it needed someone with a bit of ambition for the whole tournament to push it along.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be kind of spoken about after the tournament, but also the fact that Wembley will be sold out, it might kind of overshadow that a little bit, and they'll say, look how great this was and we sold out Wembley and all that kind of crack. I can imagine that will be the main narrative around the final, but there's definitely lessons learned and things that can be improved on. But again, a sold out Wembley is going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah. And to briefly mention another sellout, also Ireland-Finland sold out yesterday after going on sale. So Tala will be bopping for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, they've been pushing for this for a long time, but it's such a huge game as well that Ireland could actually reach the playoffs in this game. Like it's massive. So it deserves a crowd.
No, absolutely. And we will be there in all our colours supporting as well. That's it for us for now, but we will be back on Monday morning to break down what we hope is a final for the ages between England and Germany. We'll also be doing a look back at the tournament as a whole. So if you have any questions, get them into us in our snazzy new email address, the COYGIG Pod at offtheball.com. Lovely stuff, that. The COYGIG Pod and OTB Sports is an association with Cadbury FC, official snack partner to the Republic of Ireland's women's national team. We will see you all on Monday.
The COYGIG Pod and OTB Sports in association with Cadbury. A player and a half deserves a glass and a half of support.